Hey everyone, this is the unit circle, and this is part 4 of the videos. And in this video, we're going to look at how to figure out these 3 coordinates. So we're going to start with the first one, and I am going to remind you that this first angle was 30 degrees. And so I'm going to make this right triangle here. And I'm going to move this right triangle out of the circle and put it right here. So we're always starting, this is 0, and then we moved 30 degrees to get to that first branch of the unit circle. So the 30 degrees is here and the 60 is here. From the work that we did last week, hopefully you remember that this is x, this is 2x, and this is x root 3. Right? Across from the 30 is x, across from the 90 is 2x, across from the 60 is x root 3. Then we know that the radius of the unit circle, see if you remember what that is. It is 1 unit, right? That's why it's called the unit circle. The radius, can you see which part of the triangle the radius is? From the center to the edge? That radius is 1, and so I'm going to put a 1 right here. Okay, and then I'm thinking about why this one is not 1. It's because I'm not going all the way to the edge. When I form that triangle, that side is stopping right here. It's before the end of the circle. So the hypotenuse from the center to the edge of the circle, that is the radius that is part of the triangle, and that's equal to 1. So if I know that that 2x side is equal to 1, I can look at that as an equation, and I can solve for x. And I would do that by dividing by 2. So I get that x is 1/2. And then that allows me to fill in the other 2 sides. So if I know x is 1/2, I have 1/2 here. And then this side is going to be 1/2 times root 3, or root 3 over 2, right? There's an invisible 1 down there. Multiply the tops, multiply the bottoms, and you get root 3 over 2. So that gives us these coordinates here, because the x coordinate is going to be how far over, let me erase this, how far over did you go on the x-axis to get to that point, right? So the x value, how far over did you go? That's going to be this right here, root 3 over 2. And the y value is how far up did you go on the y-axis? And that value is going to be right here. This is the y value, which is 1/2. Oopsie, sorry. So in order to get to that coordinate on the unit circle, we went over root 3 over 2. That's what I highlighted in yellow in the triangle. And we went up 1/2, and that's highlighted in magenta in the triangle. So that coordinate, I'm going to just write it a little bit nicer, is root 3 over 2 and 1/2. Before we look at the next triangle, I'm going to also say that you're seeing how the unit circle is derived, but you're probably never going to do this work again, because we're going to just see a trick for memorizing it, and you won't have to think through all these steps. But I want you to see, at least for 3 triangles, that it's based on these 30, 60, 90, and 45, 45, 90 triangles. That's where the numbers come from. I'm going to go to the blank unit circle, and we're going to move to this one. So that middle branch, I am going to form a right triangle there, and then I'm going to move it out of the unit circle just so we can see it a little bit better. So that middle branch was 45 degrees. Remember, it was 15 degrees away from the 30. And so that makes the triangle I drew a 45, 45, 90. Again, from our work last week, think about what those side lengths would be. X, x, and x root 2. Okay, and then again, from the center to the edge of the circle, the radius of the unit circle is 1, And that again is the hypotenuse of this triangle, the radius is. And so this gives me an equation, x root 2 is equal to 1, and I can solve that equation for x. And I would do that by dividing by root 2. So I know that my x value is 1 over root 2. And so then I automatically know those other two sides. You will never see those coordinates on the unit circle because they rationalized it. So remember, you can do that by multiplying by root 2 over root 2. And so multiplying the numerators, you get root 2. Root 2 times root 2 is root 4, which is also 2. And so rationalize, that's going to be root 2 over 2. And I'm not going to do the other side because it's exactly the same. And so those coordinates, we're trying to get to this point on the unit circle. How far over did we go on the x-axis? That is represented by what's being highlighted in yellow. That's how far over on the x-axis we went, and that is root 2 over 2. And then how far up did we go on the y-axis? That is going to be what is highlighted in magenta, and that is also root 2 over 2. So writing it a little bit nicer, root 2 over 2, comma, root 2 over 2. I'm going to just repeat what I said before, that you're seeing the derivations right now, but you'll never have to go through all of these steps again, because the last thing, or we'll move into just how to memorize this really easily. So again, just showing the background of where these numbers come from. Very last one, very last branch we'll look at in this video is right here. Okay, so there's my right triangle. Moving that out, remember that third branch was when I was moving around by 30 degrees, so that was 60. So in order to get to that branch, I went 60 degrees, so that's going to place the 60-degree angle right there. I'm going to redraw that triangle, looks terrible. So something like that. So 60 degrees is going to be here this time, 30 degrees is here. The side lengths across from the 30 is your x, across from the 90 is your 2x, across from the 60 is your x root 3. And again, from the center to the edge, that is your radius, which is 1. And so that is your hypotenuse. Okay, and that gives you a little equation that you can solve. 2x is equal to 1. I can solve that, divided by 2, and get that x is 1/2. So that gives you x is 1/2. If x is 1/2, we have 1/2 times root 3, or root 3 over 2, because we have that invisible 1 in the denominator, and then multiply the tops and the bottoms, and you get root 3 over 2. So the very last set of coordinates here is going to be how far, in order to get to this point, the coordinates of that point, how far over did we go on the x-axis? That's highlighted in yellow and is 1/2. And how far up the y-axis did we go? That is highlighted in magenta, and it is root 3 over 2. So that one written nicely is 1/2, comma, root 3 over 2. Very similar to the 30-degree angle, the first one that we did, because that was also a 30, 60, 90 triangle. All right, so those are the first 3 coordinates in quadrant 1 of the unit circle.